I just wanted to share this good news with you. For a long time, I did not know the specifics concerning the mark of the beast. I didn't know all the specifics, but as God gave me information, then I would know. And then I would, relay that information to you. But I have very good news from the Lord himself. I understand that the people who received the coronavirus vaccine, who are Christians, who really do love the Lord and the Lord loves them, they are going to go to heaven. They didn't go to hell. They did not. The ones who received the coronavirus vaccine who are Christians, if they passed away already, they went to heaven. But what happened is, it really depends how they ended up in heaven. Okay? So, just like on earth, because we were made in the image of God, just like on earth, we have arms and legs, and we have limbs. Well, in heaven, we also have arms and legs and limbs. And so, for what I have heard from the Lord, those people who are Christian, who received the coronavirus vaccine, what God will do is, sometime prior to them making it or having to go to heaven, what he will do is move all that impurities, all the stuff that offends God, that God did not create. He's going to move them all to certain limbs. And those limbs will not make it into heaven, but the person will. And I got proof of this in Matthew chapter 5, verses 27 through 30. And it reads, and I'm reading from the English Standard Version: "You have heard that it was said, 'You shall not commit adultery.' But I say to you that everyone who looks at a woman with lustful intent has already committed adultery with her in his heart. If your right eye causes you to sin, tear it out and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body be thrown into hell. And if your right hand causes you to sin, cut it off and throw it away. For it is better that you lose one of your members than that your whole body go into hell." May God add a blessing to the reading of his word. So as you can see, it is the members that caused a person to, and when we say members, we're talking about the members of that human body, that caused that person to sin by receiving that coronavirus vaccine, that God will get rid of. Because whatever member it was that did that is the culprit. And so God will move all of the offensive things that the person received because of that member into that member, and then he will remove it, excise it from the person upon their entrance into heaven. So what I want to say is that this is good news. It may not sound like good news, but it is good news. And for those people who want to keep their members even in heaven and are still living, they're going to go through a process. Now, they've got to go through the process now, which means they got to hear from God, and go through a process. So I don't know the whole process, but what I'm going to tell you is you're going to have to hear from God concerning if you want to keep your members and still make it into heaven. You're going to have to hear from God. And there is a process, and you can do it. It's a harder process. I mean, I wouldn't say it's a harder process. I don't know. As long as you hear from God, you'll be fine. You just got to take it one step at a time and hear from God and take each step. So there is a way, but if you're too dumb and you're a Christian and it's too hard for you, your heart has been hardened, due to many evil past experiences, then God will take care of it. He will take care of you. So, contrary to what I was saying before, any Christian who has received the coronavirus vaccine, mark of the beast, will still make it into heaven. They will just make it in without the member that caused them to receive that coronavirus vaccine. God will do it. He will do it. Because these people really do believe in him, and they just made some mistakes. Okay? Also, what I started to see in the Bible is that the people who actually go to hell after having received the mark of the beast don't just go there because they received the mark of the beast. If you read Revelation chapter 14, verse 9, it says, "And another angel, a third, followed them, saying with a loud voice, If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, he also will drink the wine of God's wrath, poured full strength into the cup of his anger, and he will be tormented with fire and sulfur in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb." And it goes on to say in verse 11, "And the smoke of their torment goes up forever and ever, and they have no rest day or night, these worshipers of the beast and its image, and whoever receives the mark of its name." And then in verse 12, this is what God says. He says, "Here is a call for the endurance of the saints, those who keep the commandments of God and their faith in Jesus." Verse 13, God says, "And I heard a voice from heaven saying, write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Blessed indeed, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, for their deeds follow them." Okay? So, notice that God says that the ones who make it into hell are not just the ones who received the mark on their forehead or on their hand, but these are people who also worship the beast and its image. Okay, so we know from study that the beast is the coronavirus itself. That is the beast. And worship means to serve, and it means to fear. But when Jesus Christ defined worship as to mean to serve. So if anyone serves the coronavirus, right, and the image of the coronavirus. So the question now is, what is the image of the coronavirus? So I need to hear from God for that. Give me a moment. Okay. I think I know. So the beast is the coronavirus. But the question is, what is its image? So, for example, we were made in God's image. And when you think about the definition for image, it's basically just telling you like an outline of the actual thing. It's a representation of the actual thing. So there's something that is a representation of the coronavirus. There's something that is an outline of the coronavirus. And what I think that is the spike protein image of the coronavirus, right? So the question is that the person would have to serve the coronavirus, serve the spike protein and receive the B cells and T cells, the helper and memory B cells and T cells, right? So what is God saying here? He's saying that this person who received the coronavirus vaccine and now has developed these B cells, the helper and memory B cells and T cells, would also have to serve the coronavirus. This is a person who loves the coronavirus. This is a person who loves that people are dying from coronavirus, who wants to help people to die from coronavirus. This is a very evil person. This is a very devious, evil, satanic, ritual performing person. These are people who know the deadliness of the coronavirus and want to help people to be sick with coronavirus. And so many of the people who have taken the vaccine, the coronavirus vaccine, have taken it because they want to help their neighbor. They have taken it because they don't want to serve to their neighbor the virus, right? But there are other people, very devious, evil people in this world, who have played a role in the distribution of the coronavirus and in making sure and ensuring that there are people who get sick with the coronavirus. These are people who might smile in your face, but they perform satanic rituals, witchcraft, what's the other word that I was, for the men who do it? There's witches and then there are men who would do it too, sorcerers, right? So these are people who, they serve the coronavirus. They serve the sickness to the people. They want the people to get sick with coronavirus. But most people who have received the vaccine received it because they really do not want, and they believe the lie that if they'll just take the vaccine that it'll stop the spread and, stop people from getting the coronavirus. So most people that I've known, I haven't really encountered, although I know they exist and I have seen their handiwork, right? Let's put it that way. But within my own life, anyone in my own life who I know who has received the coronavirus vaccine did it because they were coerced to do it. They didn't do it because they wanted to ensure that other people would get sick from the coronavirus. That's not why they did it. But there are some people out there, very devious people, who want the coronavirus to continue to spread. They want to serve the coronavirus to other people. And I'm not talking about people who don't wear a mask or don't get vaccinated. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about literally there are people who don't care if many people get sick with coronavirus. These are people who don't care about antibody cocktails and they don't want anyone to get healed from coronavirus. A lot of these people are doctors and nurses. A lot of these people are doctors and nurses who left certain people in certain conditions that would make them more vulnerable to getting sick. Some of these people are young people who care for elderly people, right? They left certain people in certain conditions that they could just get sick. And when I say in conditions, I mean they kept them unhealthy. They worked very hard to keep them unhealthy. They work hard to stress people out, to gaslight them. Okay, I don't know who these people are. They're all over the place. But these are the people God is talking about. It's basically anyone in their heart who says that they hope, right, and wish for the coronavirus to be placed on somebody else, right? Those people are the ones who are going to hell. Those are the people who are going to hell, and they're going to burn. So notice here that God gives us more information in Revelation chapter 14, verse 9 and verse 11. He's saying these are people who not only have received the mark of the beast on their forehead or on their what? See, but notice he said, or on their hand, right? He said these are people who serve the coronavirus and serve, notice that. Notice how God says and serve what? What? They serve the image of the coronavirus, which is the spike protein, which has to do with the vaccine. So these are people who tell you you need to get the vaccine, right? But these are also people who somehow, somewhere, I don't know, in their heart, they could be wishing it, or they could be, doing it, outside. They're wishing and secretly hoping that a person would get sick with coronavirus. They're wishing it, they're secretly hoping it, right? Right? Because remember what Jesus Christ said in Matthew. Let's go back to Matthew. Okay, now let's go back to Matthew chapter 5 and start with verse 21, where Jesus Christ says, "You have heard that it was said to those of old, 'You shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment.'" In verse 22, Jesus Christ says, "But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council, and whoever says 'you fool' will be liable to the hell of fire." In verse 23, God says, "So if you are offering your gift at the altar, and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First be reconciled to your brother, and then come and offer your gift." In verse 25, God says, "Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge, and the judge to the guard, and you be put in prison. Truly I say to you, you will never get out until you have paid the last penny." Okay? So, I also wanted to read another verse where God says that, I think that's it. Yeah, I think I just read it. So I think the point is that I think that's the verse where God basically points out that if a person just hates their brother, right, you've pretty much murdered your brother, right? You did it in your heart. That's what God's talking about here. And so, for anyone who secretly is wishing and hoping that someone would get sick with coronavirus and die, and for the same person who went on and also is telling people to go get the vaccine, and for the same person who is also has received the vaccine, that person is going to experience hellfire. But many of the people who I have witnessed who have received the coronavirus vaccine did not receive it and also want other people to get sick with coronavirus. I've never seen that, but I know those people exist, obviously, but I'm just saying, in my own personal experiences and interactions with people, I've never heard of anyone say, I hope this person gets sick with coronavirus. I've never heard. I mean, actually, I have heard some people say things like that on, on social media. So those people, obviously, they're gonna go to hell, right? But I'm saying I've never heard a Christian say that. A Christian who I've interacted with who has said they received the coronavirus vaccine, I've never heard them say, "I hope XYZ gets coronavirus and dies." I never heard them say that. The Christians that I've heard from who received the vaccine said that they just don't want anyone to get sick. So that's why they received the vaccine. They did it because they really cared about other people. So all in all, I say all of this to say that you don't automatically go to hell just because you received the coronavirus vaccine. You had to receive it with a certain type of heart. And if you received it with a heart that seeks another person's destruction, well, then you're going to hell. So all in all, what we learn once again is that God is after the heart of the Christian. And most Christians who received the coronavirus vaccine, mark of the beast, received it in a certain heart that was not devious, that was not evil. They received it with a heart that they could help somebody else. Okay? So, I just believe that God is using those Christians for such a time as this to accomplish His purposes on this earth. But no, just because a person received the coronavirus vaccine does not automatically make them hellbound. However, this is not the case for everybody, right? Like for someone like me who knows better, right? And I know what the coronavirus vaccine is, and I know, that it's the mark of the beast. And if I were to go and receive it just because I heard a word that a person doesn't automatically go to hell for receiving it, I will end up going to hell, right? So it's diluted. You can become reprobate. You don't just do things just because, I can't go to hell. Let's just make it easy for me on life. No, that's not it. If you know that it's the mark of the beast, if you know that it's evil, God will hold you responsible for that. You understand? So if you know something is the mark of the beast and you go and take the mark of the beast, then you will go to hell. God will make sure of it. But I'm saying for the people, a lot of the Christians that I have witnessed who have taken the coronavirus vaccine, they did not believe that it was the mark of the beast when they took it. They just didn't believe it. They were coerced into taking it. The Christians that I know who took it because they were coerced. They did not take it, because they just felt like taking it. They took it because they felt coerced. Every single one that I've talked to, every single Christian that I've talked to in my own personal life took it because they felt coerced to do it. So those Christians who felt coerced into taking the coronavirus vaccine, mark of the beast, and they did it because, they really truly believed they were helping other people and they didn't want anyone to die. And, they really did legitimately fear, right, the coronavirus. They feared dying from it, and they feared other people's deaths from it. Those people are going to heaven. Those Christians are going to heaven. The only thing is that they might be missing certain members of their body in heaven. That means there's just certain members of their body that will never be restored. Okay? And I don't understand how that goes, but it has something to do with the natural and the spiritual. Okay? And you can look more into that. I think 1 Corinthians, is it chapter 15, might go a little bit into that. Where God talks about how we were made, and and then there's other things. There's just a lot going on with that. So let me just make sure I got the right reference that I'm giving you. It is 1 Corinthians chapter 15. Yes. So I would read 1 Corinthians chapter 15 if you want to know more. But this is good news to me. It's good news. It means that I was wrong, and I'm thankful that I was wrong. Okay? That just because a person receives the mark of the beast, coronavirus vaccine, does not mean that they automatically go to hell. That is not what it means. Okay? If you know that the coronavirus vaccine is the mark of the beast and you receive it, well, yeah, then you're going to hell. But I mean, for those people who did not know that the coronavirus vaccine was the mark of the beast, and they received it with good intentions, with a good heart. They did it because, they feel like it's their duty to help other people. Because I've spoken to many Christians, and I've tried to talk them, out of it. And many of them went and did it anyway. But when they did it because they feared the coronavirus. They did it because they wanted to help other people. Right? These are not people who took it because they hated other people and wanted other people to get sick and die. And then they went on and took it, and they also want to push the mark of the beast on other people. They're not drug pushers. They're not, murder pushers. You know what I mean? These are not most Christians that I've spoken to, and I'm talking about in my own life personally, did it with a good heart and good intentions. Of course, the Bible says that, forgot exactly how it says it, but basically that many people, like some people are on a pathway of evil, thinking that they are with good intentions. Basically, I forgot the verse. I gotta find it, but you can find it yourself. But still, like I said, the most evil that will come to certain Christians is losing some of their members. Why? Because God has to shuffle around all those impurities into those members before that person makes it into heaven. So the question is, which members will God shuffle the impurities to? He will shuffle them to the evil members of that person's body, the members of that person's body that caused them in the first place to get the coronavirus vaccine. And if you are a Christian and you took the coronavirus vaccine and you want all your members in heaven, right, then what you're going to have to do is hear from God and believe him to move those impurities into a certain, that part of your body now while you're on earth, and to handle it now while you're on earth. Okay? So that's it. If you have any more questions, you can contact me. My number is 929-251-6658. You could also email me at drlord2022@gmail.com. My name is Dr. Chris Lord. I am running for governor of the state of New York in 2022. And my plan is to take over as president of the United States of America in 2024. God bless you.